Welcome to the series of videos where we solve the questions on the 2026 BECE Maths Paper 1. We begin with question 1, where we're asked to arrange the following numbers in descending order. That means that we arrange them from the biggest to the smallest. The problem we have here is that some of our numbers are written as fractions while others are written as decimals. So we wish we could convert all of them into the same form. Then it'll be easier to compare them. So one way to do this is to try to write all of them as percentages. So you write 3/4 as a percentage, you multiply by 100%. And then what do we get? 4 divides 1. 4 divides 25. So this is equal to 75%. What about 0.8? 0.8 can also be converted into a percentage. We multiply by 100% and we get 80%. 0.8 times 100, we can move the decimal point twice because we are multiplying by 100, which has two zeros. When we do that, then we have an extra space for a zero. That's how come we get the 80%. Now we have 5/8. Let's try to write 5/8 as a decimal. We do that by multiplying by 100%. And what do we get? Well, 4 divides 8 to give 2. We get 25. So 5 times 25 over 2. 5 times 25 is 125 divided by 2. That gives 62.5%. And then finally, we have 0.65. 0.65 times 100%. That gives us 65%. Again, we use the same idea. Multiply by 100, we move the decimal point twice. So we get 65. So now we can compare these four numbers. We have this 65%, 62.5%, 80%, and 75%. So if we are to arrange these for the biggest is 80, the second biggest is 75, the third biggest is 65, and the fourth is that. So that means 0.8 is the biggest number, and our answer is A. 0.8 is the biggest, followed by 3/4, followed by 0.65, followed by 5/8. So we go to the next question, question 2. Mr. Mensah left his house at 9:45 a.m. and reached his village at 4:15 p.m. Find the time spent. So a number of ways to do this. One way that I like is to draw a timeline, if you will. So he starts at 9:45 a.m. and he ends at 4:15 p.m. So we're trying to find the time difference between these two. And I like to, because the journey started in the morning and ended in the afternoon, I like to look at some point in the middle of the journey, not exactly the middle, but some point in the middle, like 12 o'clock, and then look at the time before 12 o'clock. So how much time did he spend on the journey before 12 o'clock, and then how much time did he spend after 12 o'clock? If we can get these two numbers, then if we add them together, we're going to get the total amount of time spent. Now, the time from 12 noon to 4:15 p.m., that's 4 hours and 15 minutes. Why? Because, well, 12 to 1 is 1 hour, 12 to 2 is 2 hours, 12 to 3 hours, and so on. So 12 to 4:15 is 4 hours, 15 minutes. What about 9:45 a.m. to 12 noon? Well, if we think of 9:45 a.m. as 15 minutes before 10 a.m., then we have, if the time from 10 a.m. to 12 noon is 2 hours, then we add 15 minutes to that. So 9:45 to 12 noon is 2 hours 15 minutes. So if we add this time to that time, that's going to give us our total time. And to do that, we can add the hours. 2 hours plus 4 hours is 6 hours, and then 15 minutes plus 15 minutes, that's 30 minutes. So the total time is 6 hours and 30 minutes, as we have here. Of course, there are other ways to do it. We can look at trying to subtract the two quantities directly. And if we do that, we can write 4:15, let's say. So 4:15 p.m. And then we have 9:45 a.m. And we're trying to subtract these two quantities from each other. Well, we can start 5 minus 5 is 0, and then we try to subtract 4 from 1. We are not able to do that, so we have to borrow from the hour section. This is the hour section, and this is the minute section. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So if you borrow, you're going to get 60 minutes. So we have an extra 6 here to add to the 1. That gives us 7. So if we deduct the 4 now, we get 3. Now, having subtracted 1 from here, we get 3. So we are now trying to subtract 9 from 3. But mind you, the 3 is 3 in the afternoon, and the 9 is 9 in the morning. So if you subtract 9 in the morning from 3 in the afternoon, what do you get? You get 6 hours. So we get the same answer as we got before: 6 hours, 30 minutes, 6 hours, 30 minutes. There's another way to do this. If you visit our website, preppyonline.org, you're going to see yet another way of solving this problem. We go to the next question. Question 3. In a test, 2/3 of the learners passed. If the number of learners who failed was 69, how many passed? So 2/3, 2/3 of the learners passed. And the question is, how many failed? If everybody either passed or failed and 2/3 passed, then the number who failed must be 1 minus 2/3. And what is this number? This number is 1/3. If it's not clear why this gives 1/3, remember that we can write 1 as 3/3. One whole number equals 3/3. So if you now do 3/3 minus 2/3, we get 1/3 as we got above. So now we're told that if the number of learners who failed was 69, so those who failed was 69. The question is, how many passed? So 1/3 of the learners, this 1/3 corresponds to 69. We want to know what 2/3 is going to correspond to. Well, if we notice that 2/3 is equal to 1/3 times 2, then if 1/3 is 69, 2/3 is going to be 69 times 2. So what is 69 times 2? It's equal to 138. So that gives our answer. All right, we go to the next question. Question 4. Factorize this expression: 3a squared b minus 9ab squared. Well, we try to look at the common factors, and we have 3 here, we have 9 here. They have 3 in common, so we can definitely pull out a 3. What about a? We have a squared, we have a, so we can definitely pull out an a, and then we have b and b squared, so we can pull out a b. Once we do that, if you pull out 3ab from this expression, that means you're going to divide this expression by 3ab. You're going to be left with a. And then if you do the same here, if you divide this expression by 3ab, you're going to get 3b. So that's our answer. And that is A. All right, so we go to the next question, question 5. Question 5 is find the volume of a cube with side 5 meters. So a cube is a type of cuboid, and we know that the volume is given by the expression length times width times height. Except that in the case of a cube, the length is equal to the width and is equal to the height. So you can write L times L times L, or L cubed. And we are given the L as 5. So let me just uh, sketch a cube so that we see better what we are talking about. So we have this, then we have that. This is the figure. So if we are told that the length, let's call this the length, is 5 meters, and let's call this the width. The width is also 5 meters, and then the height is 5 meters. Then from this sketch and also from the formula, we know that the volume is just 5 meters by 5 meters by 5 meters. And this is going to give us 125 cubic meters, or meters cubed. So that's D. All right. The next question, question 6. A trader sold an article for 126 CDs, marking a profit of 20%. Find the cost price of the item. So the trader sold the article for 126, and this 126 CDs represents a profit of 20%. So when he sold it at this price, he made a profit of 20%. That means that this 126 CDs is equal to 120% of the cost price. 120% because we've added this 20% to 100%. The cost price is 100% of the cost price, but the selling price of 126 CDs is 20% more than the cost price. That's how come the person made a profit. So if 126 is equal to 120% of the cost price, then what is the cost price? Um, this we have a virtual multiplication here. We are saying 120% of the cost price. That means 120% times the cost price. So if we want the cost price, we can divide both sides by 120%. But let me just write things again. 126 equals 120% of the cost price. Now, 120% is equal to 120 over 100. So let me just write that, 120 over 100. And if it's off the cost price, it means it's times the cost price. And so now we can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of this fraction. If we multiply both sides by the reciprocal of this fraction, the cost price is going to stand alone. So we're going to get the cost price is equal to 126 times 100 over 120. And so this is what we have to calculate. And if we see that 20 divides this to give 5, divides this to give 6, and then 6 divides this 1, 6 divides this 21. Then we have 21 times 5, which is 105. So the cost price must be 105 cedis, and that is what we get here. All right, we move to the next question. Write 0.000437 in standard form. 0.00437. So in writing a number in standard form, we want to write it as something point something times 10 to the power something. So let's say something, call it something point something, normally longer, times 10 to the power something. So we are looking for all these things, these missing numbers. And we want it to be such that the number that we have here is between 1 and 9. But basically, the method is to move, in this case, to move the decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we have to move the decimal point 4 times to get rid of all or bypass all the zeros before and reach the first non-zero number. So that is going to give us a 4.37 times 10 to some power. Now the power, because we had to move 4 times, the power has something to do with 4. But in this case, because the number is less than 1, it's minus 4. Or if you like, because we had to move to the right, it's minus 4. If we had to move to the left, then it would be plus 4. So that gives us the answer as A. All right, the next problem is number 8. Mary receives a commission of 15% on articles sold in a week. If her commission was 60 cities, how much sales does she make? So her commission is 15% of sales. Let me just write that. Let's write C for commission. C is always 15% of sales. Now, if her commission was 60 cities, so now we are told that this C is 60 cities. How much sales did she make? So that means this 60 cities is now 15% of sales. So 15% of some number, which we call sales, is equal to 60. And we are supposed to find this sales. This is similar to something we've already seen. So we just write it in another way. 60, 15% is 15 over 100 times sales. So how do we find sales? We can multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of this fraction. Why do we multiply by the reciprocal? Because we want to get 1. If you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, you get 1. And if we get 1, then we isolate sales on one side of the equation. So the reciprocal of a fraction is just writing the numerator over the denominator. So if you want the reciprocal of 3 over 4, it's 4 over 3. If you want the reciprocal of 1 over 2, it's just 2 over 1. No, not equal. It's the reciprocal that is that. So the reciprocal of 15 over 100 is 100 over 15. So we do 60 times 100 over 15 is equal to sales. So this is the quantity that we want. And we have to simplify. 15 divides itself 1, divides 64. So we have 4 times 100. That means sales is equal to 400 cities. And that is C. So we go to the next problem. question 9. Simplify square root of 75 minus square root of 18 minus square root of 3 plus square root of 2. So this is surds that we have to simplify. And the idea when simplifying surds is to try to write the number under the surd as a product of a perfect square and another number. So for instance, the square root of 75, if we try to write it as a product of a perfect square times a number, a perfect square that we can use is 25. So square root of 75 equals, because 75 is equal to 25 times 3, we can write this. And when we write this, we can simplify to get this square root of 25 times square root of 3. And because square root of 25 is 5, we get 5 root 3. 5 root 3. All right. So this is the type of thing we want to do. We can do a similar thing with the square root of 18. The square root of 18 can be written as this. 18 is equal to 9 times 2. So we can write this square root of 9 times square root of 2. Square root of 9 is 3. And then that. So 3 root 2. So this entire expression can be written as follows. Square root of 75, we said it's 5 root 3. So we write 5 root 3. Then square root of 18, we found that to be 3 root 2. Then minus square root of 3 plus square root of 2. And then the simplification, we can think of it as grouping like terms, this and that. So 5 root 3 minus root 3, that gives you 4 root 3. And then minus 3 root 2 plus root 2 gives us minus 2 root 2. So this is our simplified expression, 4 root 3 minus 2 root 2. So the answer is A. All right. The next question is question 10. Teresa was asked to select a random letter from the word happy. What is the probability that she selects the letter P? Well, the word happy, Happy, has 5 letters, and 2 of them are the letter P. So each of these 5 letters has an equal chance of being chosen. And the question is, what's the probability that if we select randomly, we're going to choose a P? Because there are 2 P's and there are 5 letters in total, our probability is 2 over 5. Maybe to explain further, if each one has an equal chance of being chosen, then because the total probability is 1, the probability of selecting a letter, some letter is going to be chosen. So the total probability is just one whole number. So you have to divide this one whole number among each of the 5 letters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So H has 1 over 5 chance of being chosen. A has 1 over 5. P has 1 over 5. This first P. Second P, 1 over 5. And then the Y has a 1 over 5 chance of being chosen. So now the question is, what's the probability of choosing a P? Either you choose this P or that P. So if you choose the first P, that's the probability. And then the probability of the second P is also 1 over 5. So the total probability for choosing a P is 2 over 5. That gives our answer as C. So that brings us to the end of this first video. All the questions and solutions can be found on preppyonline.org. You can find all the questions for paper 1 and paper 2, as well as all the detailed solutions for paper 1 and paper 2. See you later.